Welcome back, folks. We have the honor and privilege of visiting today with CD1 representative Dr. Paul Gosar. Dr. Gosar was a dentist in private practice before he entered into the world of being a citizen representative, and he has been back in Washington, D.C. doing a bang-up job for us. We wanted to visit today about the Obama administration and their attempt to force insurance companies to pay for contraception, abortion, RU486, and every other form of birth control, and do this across the board, whether you are a religious or a private institution. And I wanted to quote real quickly, in the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, it says, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof," meaning you have freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. And then, quoting Jefferson in his letter to the Danbury Baptists, I wanted to state, "Everyone on the left always can quote the wall of separation between church and state." The next sentence says, "Adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of conscience." With that as a context, this controversy over abortion and contraception being forced onto Catholic Charities, an organization representing 70,000 employees, total fines on a yearly basis would run about $140 million if they violate the current policy. How do you view this on the part of the Obama administration? And from your standpoint as a small C conservative, how do you view this?
This is outrageous. I mean, this is the constant attempt of trying to break down our religious freedoms and our liberties and our conscience. Point blank across the board. You couldn't have said it better, Terry, in regards to the context of Jefferson's quotes. But we look at this as that doctrine and that of the Obama administration to push everybody into a one-size-fits-all where nothing is of conscience and no separation from the religious entities are being allowed to be enforced.
Now, when we look at this, should we see this any differently than we see Obamacare in general? Is this just the expression of how President Obama and his advisors view every part of medical care, that they know it's best and we don't?
Well, this is just another step, because when you look at the IPAB board, what ends up happening, you're going to have a series or a panel of bureaucrats that will deem what procedures should be paid for. And once they deem that, these are unelected bureaucrats. You as a physician will not have the ability to do anything other than what is prescribed, particularly if it's a preventative type procedure. In fact, it's illegal if you do something that's not okayed by them in regards to a procedure.
Now, those boards were what were originally referred to by many conservatives as the death panels, and everyone on the left laughed and said, "Oh, that's ridiculous, there won't be any such thing." But in the healthcare law, there is a specific provision for boards of unelected bureaucrats who will do a cost-benefit analysis.
Yep.
You've already seen it with Avasta, with the breast cancer drug. You saw literally hundreds of parents and children write into the Wall Street Journal and other newspapers in America saying, "This is curing my breast cancer. If you take this away, I will die." Mm-hmm. And the answer from the unelected bureaucratic board was, "Well, the cost-benefit ratio is there. You're going to die." Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that is the Obama administration opinion. They know what's best. You don't.
That's exactly right, and that's where they wanted to streamline the whole process and take away the individuality of patient-centered care. And this is going to the whole scenario, is not having a choice, not having parameters on what you wanted to do with your health care, and this goes along those same lines.
Now, in addition to this, and I see this as just the tip of the iceberg, this particular issue over contraception is especially egregious because if you were a traditional practicing Catholic, Muslim, Jew, Christian, life begins at conception and life in the womb is sacred and you can't be part of destroying that life. But even if you wanted to make the argument that there is, a cost-benefit ratio, I find that even more offensive. If they're going to look at contraception in terms of cost-benefit and start saying, well, we know who should be born and who shouldn't be born, and that's really where this ends up, that's very offensive. I mean, that's just eugenics. There isn't a way around that.
And if you don't have faith or belief in life at conception, what about life as we go through our life series? You're expendable at this time. These are the same things that we've been told over and over again to be careful and to watch out for. We're mimicking the past, and we've got to stop.
I just finished reading a great autobiography of Louis Zamperini, who was a bombardier in World War II, got shot down over the Pacific, and was horribly mistreated by the Japanese in World War II. And what saves Zamperini when he comes back from the war is his faith in God, and that's all that saves him. And I think a lot of people in this country are lost right now. They don't understand that the founders, George Washington in his private prayer journal talks extensively about we can only govern ourselves if we have personal virtue, and personal virtue only comes from humble prayer to God. That's how we get the correct direction. And I think it's impossible for the modern left, the modern atheist left, to understand how sincerely we disagree with them on this. And when I listen to people on TV saying, look, this is about a woman's right to choose, no, it's not. It's about a much deeper cosmic issue of whether or not life is whether there is a sanctity to life.
And it's also about our responsibility to life. Most people forget about that. There's responsibilities that inherently come with that. And those are the genuine miracles that we fail to realize, and we've taken it and trivialized it over time. And that's what's so sad about it.
And this, again, part and parcel of Obamacare are decisions about quote-unquote end-of-life counseling, about, how long are you productive, and at the point that it costs more to keep you alive than you are earning, then we have a moral duty, according to Obamacare, to get rid of you. And it's almost, George Bernard Shaw, there's a great video on YouTube you can find of George Bernard Shaw saying once a year every citizen should have to stand in front of the government and say, here's how much money I made for the government, here's how much I cost the government. And Shaw then says, if you cost us more than you made for us, we should be able to execute you. And no one gets that George Bernard Shaw and his socialist utopian friends really meant that. They really, really meant that. And at the heart of this contraception abortion issue is a question about the sanctity of human life, and whether it's at conception or whether it's euthanasia for older Americans. I think every person, every one of you 80 million baby boomers ought to be thinking about this. Disabled, or any small change where you no longer are profitable. Is that how we're going to run the United States?
Or is it your political beliefs and how you look at an economy as well? I mean, you look at things across history and how we've seen one group being persecuted over another. This is our history is wrought with these kind of inferences and stories.
My daughter's a freshman in high school, and she came home yesterday. They just finished studying Hitler, and she said, isn't President Obama doing the same thing Hitler did, only he's doing it with the rich? Doesn't he want everybody to hate the rich, just like Hitler wanted everybody in Germany to hate the Jews? And I looked at her and thought, boy, some critical thinking. Isn't that great? I said, yeah, honey, that's pretty much the deal. And she says, I don't want to hate anybody. I don't understand why we're supposed to hate these people. I said, you're not. You're not. And there's a good test. If anybody tells you to hate somebody, that's not a good pathway. When I look in the Declaration, when I look in the Constitution, I can't find anything that says you got to hate these people.
No, and then we were based on the selective aspect of bringing out the individual talents of the individual that worked in mass. Those are the things that I have a set of traits. Maybe they're great in some. I have some failings in others. And what made us a great country is that my strengths were covered somebody else's weaknesses, and we actually exercise that individuality and responsibility.
Well, the essence of the founders' vision for America was an entrepreneurial society where people were free to pursue their talent and left alone, Jefferson always said, to live free between the ground and God. 40 acres a mule, multiple weapons, get the federal government off your back. And I think this is just one more example of this administration overreaching. And folks, you ought to thank God you've got representatives like Paul Gosar, Dr. Paul Gosar, in the House fighting for your freedom, because he understands. God bless the United States. God bless Dr. Gosar. God bless you.